Senator McCAIN, great to speak to you again.
Well, thank you, Michael. It's good to be with you, and there's a lot of things we need to talk about, including your very thoughtful piece this morning entitled, Does a Weaker America Make the World Safer? And the Scud missile information that you and I had heard in the past, that Scud missiles are being put into southern Lebanon. And by the way, for the benefit of a lot of our viewers, Scud missile puts Jerusalem and Tel Aviv and other cities in Israel within range. This is a very dangerous escalatory step, and really puts much greater threat on the state of Israel. Think of how we would feel if, say, on one of our borders at a nation or an organization that is dedicated to our extinction has the capability to hit our nation's capitals. I think it would be pretty alarming.
Well, it's you don't even have to imagine it. Just imagine one of those Mexican drug cartels, because we're given Scud missiles. Because I don't think that there is much difference morally, ethically, in terms of responsibility between a Mexican drug cartel and the murderers in Hezbollah who killed 263 Americans back in 1982.
I agree, and the fact is that these people are beholden really only to Iran and Syria, and we know the intentions articulated time after time by Iran and Syria. Meanwhile, the United States of America sends, or wants to send, he has not been confirmed by the whole U.S. Senate, an ambassador back to Damascus in hopes, I guess, that things will get better if we have somebody to live in Damascus. It's remarkable. I wonder when we're going to realize that these people are not going to unclench their fists, and what they do understand is American power, America supporting its traditional allies, i.e. Israel, and the United States making it very clear that acts of aggression are met with responses. And so, again, this business of the Scud missile, the allegation somehow that because we have entered into an agreement, a further arms control agreement with the Russians concerning nuclear weapons. And by the way, I'm not against it as long as we make sure of certain things, like that we will modernize our nuclear inventory, and it is not hinged upon or contingent upon United States further development of defensive missile shields. So we are really said that somehow Iran and North Korea will react positively to this agreement. That's just foolishness. That's just foolishness. Nor did Pakistan act the last time that we had an arms control agreement. It's foolishness.
And it's not just the agreement. You and Senator Kyle, your colleague from Arizona, wrote an excellent letter about the new nuclear posture review that President Obama announced. This is a remarkable thing, because what he's saying is he's telling people in advance that you can attack us with chemical and biological weapons, and as long as you don't have nuclear weapons, we won't use nuclear weapons against you. How does it make America safer at all? This is what I asked in my column today.
That's your column. Yeah,
to restrict our retaliation.
It can't. Any country that, especially a chemical or biological attack, which has the same profound catastrophic effects, depending on what you're talking about, my God, particularly a biological attack, that we wouldn't say that we will respond with everything that the United States has in order to stop the further loss of American lives, that we would only respond with a conventional response. Well, it doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't.
Let me play you something else that doesn't make any sense. I believe this is from this morning. The President of the United States, in not using a teleprompter, made the following unscripted remarks.
Whether we like it or not, we remain a dominant military superpower, and when conflicts break out, one way or another, we get pulled into them.
Okay, what does he mean,
whether we like it or not? whether we like it or not, the service and sacrifice of so many Americans to give us the preeminent role in the world, the greatest force for good in history, whether we like it or not? Who's in the not category? That's just. I don't. If I hadn't heard it, you just recording it. I don't think you could make it up. I mean, who in America would not like the fact that we are the greatest force for good in history? If it were not for the United States of America, look at the chaos that would ensue in the world, the countless conflicts and death and destruction that would result if it were not for the beneficial influence of the United States of America. And again, by the way, I want to go back in. The START treaty, it's good to reduce nuclear weapons. I think we need to check up on it. I am not viscerally opposed to it, but we need to make sure it doesn't affect our defensive missile capability. In other words, the Russians basing their ratification or adherence to the treaty should have nothing to do with our further development of missile defenses. But again, that's one category of it. But it's foolish to think that Iran and North Korea would anyway be affected by an agreement we have between the United States and Russia.
Oh, right, that they're going to imitate us. 1-800-955-1776 is our phone number. Senator McCAIN, as he has before in this radio show, is willing to take your calls. And so many people involved right now, Senator, in this election and the anticipation that we can actually do something to roll back some of the disastrous policies that President Obama has been following. Do you think it's realistic, and I get this question every single day, and I know you do, to at least begin to roll back and defund this monstrosity of Obamacare that you helped to lead the fight against?
I do. And look, I know that a lot of the liberal constitutional scholars have said, no, because of the Commerce Clause of the Constitution, you're not going to be able to challenge it in court. Well, look, where in the Constitution does it say that a government of the United States can force someone to purchase a product, describe the ingredients in that product, and fine them if they don't purchase that product? Now, that's what this health care thing is about. Where in the Constitution does it give the federal government that kind of authority over the American people? I think we have a case, and I'm glad to see a number of states that attorneys generals, governors, legislatures have felt exactly the same way. And so I think it's a clear constitutional challenge in my view, and there are other aspects of it that are too, but that's a major part of it. And second of all, Congress has the power of the purse. According to the Constitution, the Congress of the United States has the power of the purse, and we could cut off funding with majorities in both houses in appropriations bills, funding for certain to implement certain aspects of Obamacare. And I am confident that we are going to gain a lot of seats. I hope we will gain enough to gain majorities in both houses, which, by the way, would make me chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee. And then we could act using the power of the purse and certainly attack the most onerous aspects of this legislation.
Yeah, which would be a very, very important thing to do, Senator.
Which, by the way, would be tantamount to repeal and replace it with medical malpractice, reform, replace it with going across state lines to get insurance of people's choice, replace it with rewarding wellness and fitness, replace it with all of these things that really would bring down the cost of health care in America.
All right, when we come back, I want to talk with Senator McCAIN, take your calls, and talk a little bit about what Dick Morris told me just moments ago. According to his polling, if the election were held right now, Republicans would gain 10 Senate seats and about 65 House seats. You know what that means? We'll tell you coming up.
The Michael Medved Show. MichaelMedved.com.
Whether we like it or not, we remain a dominant military superpower. And when conflicts break out, one way or another, we get pulled into them.
Whether we like it or not, it's an amazing phrase.
And the other part of the phrase, we get pulled into them. We get pulled into them. Isn't it that when conflicts break out where people are committing aggression or atrocities or something like that against others, that sometimes we are motivated, as we were in Bosnia, as we were in Kosovo, as we should have been in Uganda, to try to stop things like genocide, pulled into them? Or is it the role of the United States of America not to be the world's policeman? That certainly should not be our role. But where there's genocide taking place, as in Bosnia, it was on European soil, we lead, and our allies, we intervened. And I think we did the right thing. And it wasn't a matter of getting pulled into them. It was a matter of us stopping a terrible thing from getting even worse than it did.
1-800-955-1770 is our phone number. You probably recognize that voice. It's Senator John McCAIN. He is the senior senator from Arizona. And if everything goes right, with the election coming up, he will be the new chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee. It's an amazing thing to think about, what Dick Morris was saying before. What Morris was saying is that according to his polling right now, that if the election were held right now, Republicans would win control of both houses of Congress, and with margins, with actually a margin to spare. But it's still possible, isn't it, Senator, that this election gets messed up between now and November?
Well, I think we Republicans have a lot of work to do. I think we have to convince people that we will not let spending get out of control as we did the last time we were in power. I think we've got to come forward with a specific positive agenda for America, much like the contract with America. We have to field good candidates. We still have some Senate seats that, and I won't name them, but where I'd like to see us have more solid candidates. And campaigns matter, as you know. And by the way, how about Sarah Palin up in Boston this morning? Wow, what an incredible draw and attraction, articulate and strong figure she has become and continues to. I watch her grow and mature. She's incredible. But anyway, so we Republicans have work to do. We have to get the independents back on our side, and we have to, again, have vigorous, positive campaigns for the future. We certainly offer people a better agenda than the one that's being given to them now, which in my view is a left-wing agenda.
Let's go to John in your home state in Tucson, Arizona. You're on the MedVed Show with John McCAIN.
Hey, John.
Thank you for taking my call. Senator McCain, thank you first for your service to the country.
Thank you.
The reason I was calling is initially your talk was about the Scud missiles and the nuclear policy, but I happen to work for one of the largest and most powerful business associations. I won't say their name, but I've been following your voting record. And I just want to make sure that your listeners and the Tea Party people have a mistaken impression that somehow you've been soft on Obama. And I've just been so proud of your voting record. It's just become so much on a pro-business basis and standing up for this country's freedoms. And I just hope the voters here reward you with another 6 years.
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate that. And look, I don't take a single vote for granted, and I'm working hard, and I'm enjoying it. I love campaigning, but there is a difference between myself and my opponent, and that he supported and fought for these earmarks and pork barrel spending, which led to corruption, and it is corruption. And I'm proud of my record of fiscal discipline and also my advocacy for our military bases in Arizona and the men and women who are serving. And so, I love a campaign. I enjoy a good scrap, and I've been working hard and traveling all over the state, and I appreciate your very kind comments, John.
Senator, let's get something very, very clear here. It's something I've spoken to my listeners about. Yep. Your opponent has suggested on more than one occasion that you supported Obama's stimulus plan.
Yeah,
and I looked at the record. You circulated a national petition against it. Did you ever support the stimulus plan in any way?
No, I fought against it. I led the fight. Mitch McConnell asked me to frame the substitute for it that we Republicans supported. As you know, it was strict party line. Well, we lost a couple of Republicans on that side, but all the Republicans voted for my alternative, which had to do with tax cuts and small businesses. And it's just foolishness. I was proud proud to have led the fight along with my other colleagues on the floor against the stimulus package. And I would remind our listeners that the prediction was that, and the assurance was given by the Obama administration, that unemployment would never go above 8%. Amazing.
And now we have 9.7 still. Right. Let's go to Dan in Anaheim, California. You're on the MedVed Show with Senator John McCAIN.
Hey, Dan.
Yes. Hi, Senator. With all due respect, why should we take you seriously? And Michael, why don't you ask a simple question, something so recent, as to you claiming, sir, you never considered yourself a maverick, and there's tons of videotape of you grasping for that title.
Thanks, Dan. I've been called 1,000 things. I'm glad you brought that up. Some of them four-letter words, and the fact is that it's ridiculous. The fact is I'm proud of my record. The fact is what I said to the individual, and I'll continue to say, I'll always do what I think is best for Arizona and America. It's just, look, I got 48% of the homes in Arizona underwater. We have 17% real unemployment. That's what I'm trying to work on and keep this nation safe. People can call me what they want to call me.
Let's go to Brian, Philadelphia. You're on the MedVed Show with Senator McCAIN.
Senator Michael, it's an honor to speak with you.
Hey, how are you?
Okay, thank you. I was just wondering if this situation in Israel can be equated with what was our Cuban Missile Crisis.
You know, I think perhaps from an Israeli standpoint, Brian, I think you could make that argument. I think it's complicated by the fact that the Israelis realize that when they take military action, that it's very possible that they could trigger responses all over the Arab world. As you know, they are not the superpower in the region. They're the best military by far, obviously, but it's whatever step they take is fraught with danger. But again, Michael and I made the comparison earlier this morning. Suppose that we face the same threat, but I think it is a most serious development as far as Israeli security is concerned. But I also know the Israelis are very smart. I also know that this doesn't come as a surprise to them, and I think they're very capable of designing ways to counter it. But they're in my thoughts and prayers, and I know they are yours too.
Senator, I know you have to run. It is always a joy speaking with you. I wish you Godspeed in trying to defend free markets and freedom around the world. Senator John McCAIN will be right back with your calls on all the fronts of battle coming up.